Thank y'all. It is a pleasure for Don and I to be here with you all today. And Monsignor, thank you for the prayer. Father Jack, there he is. He was my pastor for 6 years over in St. Louis Catholic Church in D-Amite. And it's a pleasure for us to see you here today as well. Thank all of you. We just have a little over 2 weeks to go before this next election, and when we're going to decide collectively who's our next governor is going to be. And I just want to ask you, after the 8 years that we've just had, how do you picture the state of Louisiana 4 years from now? And who is it that you believe is best able at this point in time to lead our state forward? Now, I will tell you that I believe that I have the leadership ability learned at West Pointe, the premier leadership development institution anywhere in the world. And while I was there as a cadet, and by the way, that little public school education I got in Tangipahoa Parish, Louisiana, adequately prepared me for West Pointe. And I know that, and look, I'm committed to our kids and to their education for that reason, because I know that education is a key to opportunity. But while I was there, I want you to know the 4,000 cadets elected me to be the enforcer of the honor code. And so if there was ever an allegation that somebody had lied, cheated, stolen, or tolerated someone who did, I decided that there was going to be an investigation and if there would be a hearing to separate that cadet never to graduate or become an Army officer. And at 20 years old, that was an awesome responsibility. But through that process, I developed as a leader. And I went into the Army. And I spent 8 years as an infantry officer and an airborne ranger, and ultimately I commanded a rifle company in the 82nd Airborne Division. Again, tremendous opportunity to grow as a leader. I got out, went to law school. I've been back in my hometown of Amite, Louisiana, practicing law for the last 15 years. And for the last 8, I have been a state representative. And I will tell you, things have been very, very difficult in Baton Rouge. And under no circumstances were we going to have a great time over the last 8 years. But I believe we have made the situation worse than it had to be with bad decisions coming out of Baton Rouge that were primarily driven by self-interest rather than common interest. And what I offer you and what I offer the people of Louisiana is a governor who's going to get up every day worried about the people of Louisiana, and I will get up every day in the state of Louisiana. That's a big difference from what we've got right now. But in the Army, they teach you, you lead by example, you lead from the front. That's how I intend to lead, bringing people together. Because we are not going to move this state forward if the Republicans stay in their corner, the Democrats stay in their corner, and we don't talk and chart a course forward where we have compromise. I know that. I have the relationships with the people in the House and in the Senate. I have the ability to work with other people to bring them together. It's also true with local government. It's true with the business sector, higher education. We are going to work together to move Louisiana forward. And this is why it's important. For 7 straight years, we've had budget shortfalls. 7 straight years. This most recent year, $1.6 billion. And in the current year, that just started July the 1st, we are $420 million short right now. The first job of the next governor, my first job, is going to be to fix the current year shortfall. And by the way, the longer you wait, the harder it is to fix. Because if you've got a cut, the more months you have left in the year to implement the cuts, the less drastic it is. But we've got a governor who's in Iowa, New Hampshire, and everywhere else, and he's letting this problem grow, and he's not tending to it, because the truth is, he has turned his back on the people of Louisiana. He's furthering his self-ambition. Now, I will tackle that challenge. Then we're going to have a $1 billion deficit for the year that starts July 1st of next year that we've got to tackle. And we've got to change the structure so that every single year we aren't doing this, but we actually have to create an environment where we have the revenue necessary to invest in our critical priorities like higher education. No state in the nation over the last 8 years has cut state support for higher education more than Louisiana. $700 million this year we will cut from higher education as compared to what we spent 8 years ago when Bobby Jindal became governor. And at the same time, no state in the nation has increased tuition and mandatory fees on its students more since Bobby Jindal's been governor than the state of Louisiana. That is the perfect recipe for disaster. We have to do better. The state support for higher education has to go up. We're going to stop these double-digit tuition increases because that's what's threatening the future of the TOPS program. Tops has gone from $60 million a year at its inception, $270 million this year. It's going to be $400 million in just a few years unless we do something to change, and we are going to change it because Tops is an important program. I will also tell you it's not just about higher education. We're going to respect our educators again, and we're going to restore more local control to our school boards because taxpayers and voters want to be able to hold their school board members accountable for how tax dollars are spent and how children are educated. And more the power is being aggregated in Baton Rouge, and they don't have the ability to do that. And what's going to happen is the people of Louisiana, if they can't control how education is delivered and how the tax dollars are being spent, they're going to stop voting for taxes. And that's the worst thing we can do for our kids who we're trying to make sure they have the opportunity to be successful. You may have heard over the last week or so that Bel Edwards has a plan to release 5,500 thugs onto our streets. I want to tell you that's false. I don't have that plan. I never had that plan. I will never have that plan. I am the brother of a sheriff, the son of a sheriff, the grandson of a sheriff, and the great-grandson of a sheriff. My pedigree is pretty strong. I have a 100% voting record with the Louisiana Sheriff's Association over the last 8 years. I'm committed to law and order. I'm committed to safe streets. But the fact of the matter is we have the highest incarceration rate in the nation. And we're not being well served by it because we have some of the highest crime rates in many of our communities too. And so we can do better if we identify those offenders who are not committing violent crimes and we steer them away from prison but towards treatment, towards counseling, towards drug treatment and mental illness treatment, pretrial diversion programs run by DAs. Let judges be judges again and give a kid a break when they think the kid will benefit from the break and the society will not be harmed. Or we can invest more money in anti-recidivism efforts. We can invest money in mental illness treatments. We have too many people in our jails who are not criminals, but they're mentally ill. And it is not Christian-like to treat them like they're criminals. And Jesus Christ himself knows what it's like to be treated like a criminal when you're not, because he was crucified between two common criminals. And if you remember Matthew 25, we all know that when you do for the least among us, you do that unto Jesus. The second part of that barely gets mentioned. When you don't do for the least among us, that you also don't do to Jesus. And so we've got to be better. As in James 2, you know, faith without works is dead. It's not enough to be in your house and pray that the person next door has something to eat and stays warm. If you know they're going hungry and they know you're cold, you're supposed to go over there and do something about it. So that's the kind of faith that informs my public policy positions on everything, whether it's my pro-life views, which are 100% pro-life over 8 years, whether it's the acceptance of the Medicaid expansion. We are sending $1.6 billion of our tax dollars every year to Washington that then get routed to one of the 30 states or among the 30 states that have accepted the Medicaid expansion so that their working poor get cared for with health care coverage at their hospitals and their clinics and by their doctors. I don't know about you, but the most conservative thing I know of is to make sure that you benefit from the taxes that you're paying. It doesn't make sense for me, given the health outcomes in Louisiana, which are among the very worst in the country, to have this one of the highest uninsured populations in the country, that we would continue to send our tax dollars out of state, not bring them home, and put them to work for our people. I'm going to do that. And now look, some people will say, well, that's a liberal position, but being pro-life is a conservative position. I don't know which is which. I'll just tell you they're both informed by my Catholic Christian faith. And by the way, in my meetings, which I have every year with the bishops, I know that they're good with my position, so I'm good with them too. I just want you to know that. I'm saying that for Monsignor's benefit, because he's still trying to figure out for him to vote on November the 21st. But we can do so much better as a state with a governor who will be committed to putting us first. And I would submit to you that now is the exact wrong time to put in the governor's mansion someone who excels at obstruction and division. A house divided will not stand, and the only thing David Vitter excels at is division. I don't believe he has uttered a positive word since Saturday, October the 24th. If he has, I haven't seen it. I was interviewed yesterday by LPB. You'll see it Friday, 6 or 7 o'clock. The whole hour is a 30-minute interview with him and a 30-minute interview with me. And every question started with, well, this is what David Vitter said about you. I don't know why he's spending so much time talking about me unless he doesn't have something to offer the people of Louisiana. And he is trying to distract you. He is trying to divide us. And I will tell you, that is not how I was trained to lead. That's not how I will govern. We will bring people together, Republicans and Democrats and independents. We will bring men and women, blacks and whites, regardless of geography, because the challenges are too great. We cannot meet them if we're divided, but we can make a real positive difference for our state. And this is why it's important. Too many of our children, and too many of your children and grandchildren, are deciding they need to leave Louisiana in order to get a first-rate education, in order to have a job that they want, or to have a rewarding career. If our children want to leave Louisiana, that's one thing. If they feel like they have to leave Louisiana, that is entirely different, and that is unacceptable. I want to be the governor that reverses what we're doing in Louisiana so that our kids can stay right here and live the American dream, and we're not relegated to seeing them at Christmas time when they come home to visit. We don't have a margin for error where our best and brightest can leave us. We've got to keep all of the talented people right here in Louisiana. That's what I'm committed to doing as your governor. Now, I don't know if any of you saw the news last night, but at 10 o'clock, WVLA and its sister stations around the state of Louisiana released a poll. I want to tell you that as of today, the race in this for governor in Louisiana is John Bel Edwards 52, David Vitter 32. I want you to think about that. I came out early last week and I started running a commercial to let people know what was coming. And David Vitter knows how to lie. He knows how to attack. He knows how to vilify. And he is unconstrained by the truth, by the law. He's unconstrained by the facts. He will do anything. But he has never been in the position where he's in right now. And if you think this past week has been bad, and maybe you don't, but I promise you, if you were me, you would think this past week has been bad. You just wait and see what's coming over the next 2 weeks. But it is not going to work because the people of Louisiana are going to decide this election based upon character and not upon party. And he can't help himself when it comes to character. Now, he can try to destroy mine, but I'm going to make sure that I'm setting the record straight. And if any of you are tempted to believe any of the things that you're hearing about me right now, I just want to ask you, call me, come visit me, ask me about them. I will tell you what the truth is. I am not ashamed of my record. It doesn't mean I'm perfect, but I will not tell you I'm something I'm not. I will not tell you my record is something other than what it is. And at the end of the day, you're just going to have to decide for whom to vote. I'm asking you to examine the candidates, to cast an informed ballot. And I'm asking you, to the extent that you can, don't wait until November the 21st. It has stormed each of the last 2 Saturdays. It may storm again on Saturday, November the 21st. But between the 7th of November and the 14th of November, there will be a good day in there somewhere where you can go early vote. And the only day you can't vote is on Wednesday, the 11th of November, because it's Veterans Day. But there is no better way to honor our veterans. And by the way, there's veterans here because I talked to you, and thank you very much for your service. There is no better way to honor our veterans than actually voting, because it's veterans who've actually worn the uniform, sacrificed, sometimes the ultimate sacrifice, in order to make sure that we continue to enjoy the blessings and the freedoms and the liberty we have in Louisiana. And participating in the democratic process by voting is one of the best ways that we can pay tribute to our veterans. So I would ask you to vote. And I'd also ask you, while we're on the subject, to vote for the only veteran in the race. Okay, that's John Bel Edwards. That's right. You know, Donna is great. She has been my wife for 26 years. She is my secret weapon. I pulled her out this morning. Or yesterday maybe, I don't know. We started statewide TV ads featuring Donna. She is a public school teacher in Tangipahoa Parish. And she's in the classroom talking about educating kids. And she's talking about the way we want to lead the state of Louisiana when it comes to our children. And so if you haven't seen that ad, I would ask you to take a look at it at some point. But I don't blame you if you're not watching any TV these days. And we wonder why people don't want to vote. We had a record number of dollars spent on TV in the primary in Louisiana. Never before has that much money been spent. And almost all of it was negative. But if you'll notice, not a single negative ad for my campaign. Not a single one. So we intend to be positive. I can turn the cheek for a while. Maybe not forever, Monsignor, but I can turn the other cheek for a while, and we're gonna keep moving forward with a positive campaign. But I'm asking you for your help. I'm asking you for your vote, your support. You can only vote once in this election. You can pray every day, and the power of prayer is an awesome thing. And since I'm among friends, I'll share this with you, and then we're gonna have to leave, and I've got to stop in Crowley before I get to Lake Charles. I know the power of prayer. My father needed a heart transplant, and he was about to die. He was about to age out. They weren't going to give him a heart once he reached 70, because you don't give a heart to someone who's already reached their life expectancy. And my family decided we were going to get into a very, very serious mode of prayer. We started a novena on Good Friday. We finished on Divine Mercy Sunday. And at 6 a.m. the next morning, on Monday morning, he got a call from Oxnard Hospital. He got a heart. And then for each day we prayed, each of those 9 days, God blessed him with another year on earth. Now, he died last year, but after 9 really, really good years with that heart, with a second chance. Now, you can tell me that was just coincidence, that was happenstance. I will never believe it. That was the power of prayer. And if the power of prayer could change my father's life and give him those extra 9 years, the power of prayer is also an awesome thing when we ask God to bless our state, bless our nation, and to make sure that we do the right thing when we go forward. And I will tell you that as for me, I don't ever pray that God be on my side, because the word is the word, the truth is the truth. God is God and I am not. He doesn't pick sides. He doesn't move back and forth. I pray that I'm on his side. And every day it's my responsibility to examine who I am as a person and my policy positions in public and the way I lead my private life to make sure that I am on his side. And I'm human just like all of us, and I make mistakes. But I'm asking that you all approach this the same way. And while I pray that God's will be done, I sneak a little bit extra in there. I pray that it be his will that we be victorious. Okay? So I always sneak that last little bit in. Look, thank y'all so much. I don't normally get that deep into scripture or prayer, but I'm standing between Monsignor and my former pastor over here, so I felt like I was obligated to do it. We're going to be here for a few more minutes, and then we're going to have to leave to go to Crowley and then on to Lake Charles. But again, it means so much for me and Donna to have you all here this afternoon. I'm asking that you go forth from this house today, talk to your family members, your friends, the people you go to church with, that you work with. Let them know how important this election is, and hopefully we can increase the turnout that was so dismal last month, and actually increase the turnout, get more people to participate in the process. And I want to come back here at some point next year or the year after and visit with you as your governor. And if you can help me make that happen, I will be eternally grateful to you. Thank you so much. Number 5.
John Bell, I just wanted to say I've had the privilege of sitting right in front of this man for 7 years, the last 7 years. He's looked over my shoulder all those 7 years, and I guess he'll be looking over it for the next 4. But one thing I tell everything about him is he's the most honest person I know, and when he gives you his word on something, you can bank on it. And I got a lot of good colleagues at the legislature, and I unfortunately can't say that for everybody. But for him, when he tells you something, it doesn't matter whether it's the next day or 3 months later, he's stuck to his word. Furthermore, he has been somebody, and he mentioned it, that it didn't matter whether it was Republican, Democrat, white, black. He was one of those ones who would bring people together. And in Washington, it doesn't happen that way. And I'm going to tell you, we can't, if we're going to get something done at the legislature to fix this state, we're going to need somebody like John Bell who can bring all parties and all people together. It's so important now more than ever. For the last reason, I told him a little earlier, y'all know my daughter Zoe. She's 8 and she watches a lot of TV. And she said she knows John Bell because she comes to the Capitol. But she told me this morning to tell John Bell we were voting for her because she likes her wife. So, if any reason, if they don't like you, we like Donna. So
that's fine. And look, I normally finish my talk that way. if my record in the legislature it doesn't satisfy you, if my words haven't inspired you, that's okay. If you can't vote for me, just vote so that she's our next First Lady. And that works for me. Okay, good.